Welcome to the Community Hotline for the community, by the community. I'm your host, Bob Fang, and today we got Ezreena.
Hi guys, I'm Ezreena from Malaysia. KL actually. Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Ezreena Koo from KL and I'm currently working as a digital marketing and e-commerce manager for a Swiss oral care brand. Yes.
Love it.
I just graduated my master's in 2 years ago, 2021, and it's still in the midst of like pandemic and everything. But yeah, right now I'm happy and I found a great job and currently I'm just rocking in life.
I love that. I love that. Let's play a little game, icebreaker game. Tell us two truths.
Sure, sure. Two truths, one lie. All right. um. Okay. I met the Prime Minister of Malaysia. That's one.
Okay.
The second one would be I personally. Let me just think about it. Okay. The second one would be I was working and studying at the same time. And the third one would be, well, I failed my car driving test 8 times. So guess which one?
Failing your car driving lesson 8 times.
Actually, that's the truth. I did
Oh,
fail 8 times. Yeah,
what was the lie?
I know, right? Met the prime minister.
Hey, okay. I felt like, oh, maybe you could have. Yeah, I don't know, maybe 8 times. Okay. Did you? Do you?
Yeah.
But you must be an excellent driver now, right? You must know
All
all of.
right now, yeah. I'm still getting used to driving in KL, but like the story of me failing 8 times, it's true. It's true. I remember very well that I mean during my 8th time, I was like looking at the results, and because my palms were so sweaty, the slip just tear. You know, it was such a dramatic moment because it was in front of a lot of people. I was in public spaces. I look at it. I was like, I couldn't handle it, and the slip just tear, and I was like, F this, you know. So yeah, I did fail 8 times. If you're familiar with how Malaysian driving tests are, there's one they call it the bukit, the one on the hill where you have to brake on the hill. Yeah, I failed that too many times. But right now, yeah, I can drive confidently.
Okay, okay. What is
So
the
yeah,
experience like? How old do you have to be to get your driver's license in Malaysia?
in Malaysia, you could get it right after secondary school, which is as long as you're 18, you're qualified. I think
Got it.
even 17 itself, a lot of people are already driving. So yeah, but like they always make those tests really daunting. But I believe that is one of the things that you kind of have to overcome. You have like anxieties. It's a test. You spend money on it. You really want to pass, but somehow your legs and hands don't coordinate, and well, it happens. So that was actually one of the things that I had to gone through in life, like overcoming my first barrier. I was so young. I just want to drive on the road, but this test, I have to go through it 8 times. So can you imagine?
I
It
can.
took me like over 2 years just to like get a license.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did your parents say?
I they could only pay for like the first 3 exams, and the rest of it I have to fork out from my own pocket. So yeah, it hurts, but it's a good it's a good lesson to learn. So it's
Well,
like yeah, like after you fail 8 times, you just like you're not afraid of life anymore. It's like you failed 8 times. You've gone through disappointment with yourself 8 times. You you kind of like want to hit yourself in the head. Like, why am I so like you're thinking to yourself, why am I so stupid? Why am I so dumb? Why can't I do it? You know? But yeah, but right now it felt good. So that was just a driving test. So imagine if you were to fail later on, let's say in your degree 8 times. My gosh, that's gonna cost a lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, let's jump into the first question of the day. Let's go a little bit deeper. Okay. What
Yep.
are three defining
Three
moments
defining moments in my life.
and how do
How
they
did
impact?
they impact me? Ah, okay, okay. Three, yeah? Three. Um, three things. Okay. I kind of like tell the first one already.
The
Passing
driving?
the driving test. Yes, that's actually that. Even though it's just like to a lot of people, it's just a driving license, right? But for me, it was the first time I actually overcome myself. Overcome my anxiety at that point, because like I used to be somewhat of a perfectionist back in those days. Like you thought that after practicing again and again, you were like instantly pass. But somehow things happen, uh, things didn't go according to your way, and you gotta accept that, right? You gotta accept that, and it actually challenges how you feel about yourself. Are you going to give up, or are you going to like keep pushing on? So if for most people, they will kind of, especially Malaysians, most young Malaysians will pass their driving test within 2 rounds at most, right? The first round they might fail, but the second one they'll definitely pass. But for me, it took me 8 times. So that was one of the moments that actually challenged me mentally. I would say that. All right. Now the second one is actually quite interesting. Is was when right before I went to China. So I was actually before I went to China, I was actually a teacher. I was teaching English to primary school students for about like 9 months. So I thought I was going to be a teacher, right? Then I couldn't. I just couldn't apply to any universities at the time. But then something happened. I went and met someone, and it was as if a thought dawned upon me, like right before the person could utter the word international business. I kind of like know what he's going to say. So, of course, mind blowing moment if you went. As a young 21-year-old, I went to China all by myself. My parents didn't accompany me, which is not something a typical Asian would do. Asian families usually accompany their kids to go everywhere, right? Even if it's in the university, like your first day in university, they want to be there with you. But I didn't have that, so I went to China just with two other senior guys. I was there, and then I had kind of like have to navigate things in China all by myself. So a lot of us thought we know China, right? The media painted like this and that, but you never know how China is until you step there and you breathe the air there. So I remember very well when I was in China on the first day, I thought the whole building smelled like beef. Yeah, I know it's really weird. Like it smells really strong. And my first impression is I thought China people, like people in Beijing, eat lots of pork, but they don't. They eat beef, a lot of beef. So it's kind of like a mind blowing moment. So that's where I learned that we can't trust everything on the media these days. So nothing beats like you go there and see things for yourself. And so that was the second one. Yeah, it was very interesting. I climbed the Great Wall twice. Yeah, and I would definitely suggest people to go there. The best part is if you go to the Great Wall, don't go to the don't go to the touristy one. Go to the other part of the wall where you can get down on the toboggan ride.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can actually kind of like slide down the wall. I didn't
Uh,
get to do that yet. Yeah. So I'm actually going back to Beijing this September. My school invited me back for like a graduation ceremony thingy. So yeah, I'm gonna go back, head back in September.
I love that. I love that. And
Yes,
what's
yes. Um, Pardon?
what's the third one?
Third one. The third one, the third defining moment. I have to let me see. The defining moment. I don't have a lot of defining moments. Yeah, I think okay. I still kind of need a moment to think about the third one. I'm
Take your
trying to
time.
like just kind of like scroll through my mind.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, yeah. uh, like I could say that in general, my driving license is one of the things. Going to China is one of it. And then okay, the most recent one would be, I mean, getting my master's. So yeah, so I think in the eyes of a lot of people, like I mean, get a lot of kids are proud, like they have a master's and everything, right? But even though it's supposed to be a moment that I should be proud of myself, it'll be really weird to say that I don't feel really significant about it. Yeah, it's not too significant for me because I went through trauma when during my masters. So it's like in when you're doing like your education, like finishing a masters, it's actually like um quite challenging in a way. I didn't have much fun, but in a way it opens up your mind and teaches you how to think these things analytically. So uh, pause for a moment. I don't think this is a good one.
No, it's a
Um,
good one. It's a good one. Not many people even go to college.
it's a good one, but it's not very encouraging in my opinion. So
What is your truth?
I don't
Your,
want to scare kids, you know.
you don't
I
want
don't
to.
want to tell them you gotta work, you gotta study like 10 years, like 9 years to come out to be a corporate slave. No, 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 I can't do that.
You
But
can't. That's the truth. That is the truth. That is what they need to know. Do not lie to kids. Do not lie to kids. If that
I
is,
could
if that,
tell you. I have a good one. Okay, I got a good one. The third most defining moment was actually was actually when I first see my work got published on Kickstarter.
oh, okay.
Yes, because I before I have my current job, I was actually a copywriter for agencies in China. So I actually do translating plus copywriting. So it's kind of like there's a term for it called transcreation. So one of the tasks that I did, one of the projects that I did was actually a watch, a very cool watch called Cigar Design. Not sponsored, but I worked with the agency that was in charge of this watch. Now, you may think that Google translates pretty much accurate, right? Even for like 2021, 2022. I could tell you that sometimes, even to search for a particular word, it took me 3 days to find the right English term for it. And I could remember it so well because it has to do with a mechanical watch. So imagine me, a lady. I don't really know much about watches or big brands like mechanical watches that are made in Switzerland and so on and so forth. So imagine me writing for this company in a way that I have to write it like I own the watch. So actually, that was one of the most defining moments because I put 3 days just to figure out 3 words, 3 terms, and you can't find it in Google Translate. I could guarantee you. I actually had it saved in my computer because, like you can't just trust Google Translate. I actually went through so many so many websites, understanding parts of the watch just to come up with the right translation.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, guys, if anyone listening needs a copywriter or translator, hit up Ezreena.
Yeah,
I'd love.
I think yeah, especially for people in Malaysia, we are actually very blessed because we are most of us are bilingual, some trilingual, quadrilingual, and there are a lot of people that need all kinds of skills. We just need to know how like market them. Like you know what I mean. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
So let's move on to the first topic of the day. Then let's go into education, since education is such a big one for you. Tell us
yes.
who were you in secondary school, in high school? Who were you?
Wow. I will I'll be honest with you. I'm that classic nerd, but I fail in my math. I fail maths very badly. So do you know what math stands for? Maths, MATH, mental abuse to humans. You have to, you have to remember it.
But you're Chinese. I thought Chinese people were good at math.
Yes, that was the stereotype, but no, I'm not. So you back in like secondary school or high school, we call it. I hate math. Sorry, sorry, mom. Sorry, dad. No, I hate math. I hate Chinese. Sorry. So sorry. I really hate Mandarin before I went to China. I really hate the language. It was so difficult. I have no idea why they made it so difficult for us, you know? I'm not sure if you studied the curriculum in Malaysia, did you? Or you're
No,
like,
I'm American.
ah, yes, lucky you. But like, like in Malaysia, I'm gonna tell you the facts, right? In Malaysia, there is like back like 10 years ago, there's like this saying, if you're Chinese, you have to study Chinese. You have to know Mandarin. There's the typical mindset. But then again, when they kind of like put things in academics, it makes things like so superficial. You have to like get scores, you have to be A to impress everyone. We always go, we have this thing called SPM, which is at the end of secondary school, the Malaysian version of O levels, I would say.
Yeah.
Slightly lower, the standard would be slightly lower, but high at certain times. So, for instance, Mandarin will be very tough.
Did you get
If
an
you
A? In
take, oh no, no, no. I guess I was lucky to get like maybe did I get a C? Yeah, a C or a B, I forgot. But I was really bad because they make us study like old Chinese language. They
Old
call it
Chinese?
Gu. Yeah, yeah, 五古文, like old Mandarin
Like
from
fun?
back during Confucius times, where the grammars are all different and things like that. It's actually part of our syllabus because they want to. I believe that the intention was good, but because they made like how are we going to absorb so fast, my 17-year brain has capacity. I have to take in math, and if we have a math exam and a Mandarin exam on the same day, I went home. You're gonna have like a fever, your brains are toasted. I could guarantee you that. So I don't know if the kids are taking Mandarin classes, but I mean, if they were to take it, I do suggest to take them on a more moderate level, conversational. If they could speak, they could read. Definitely, yes. But if you want to study Mandarin literature, I mean, make it optional, but not compulsory.
Did you go
So
to
yeah,
a
yes,
Chinese
yes.
or a
But
government school?
I went to a government school, I'm still not hardcore as those like in Chinese private school. They're genius. I will never compete with them. Like they are next level genius. They are the best in math. And no, we have something I think in American syllabus, but I think for you it's algebra, but for us it's like advanced mathematics. So it's way more, x equal y equal x plus z, those kind of stuff. So um and of course I wouldn't compete myself with kids from private Chinese school, but I'm just like I'm doing okay. I'm like okay, you know. I'll say that if you want to pursue well in the education, kids should know what they like. You know, you kids, you should know what subjects you like or what you want to do in the future. Studying is hard, but studying helps you to prep more um, when you're going to university, because we're so used to teacher feeding us information when we are in secondary school, and then all of a sudden university you realize the lecturers don't feed you information. You kind of have to like learn by yourself. So Asian kids are so used to being fed. Like this is coming out in the exams. That's going to come out. Read this, read that. But like when I went to university, I realized, oh, I'm all by myself. I kind of like have to decide and how I'm going to absorb information and knowledge. So yeah, that's one important thing.
Interesting. What's it like going to a Malay school? Is there bullying, or is there like racism in the school, or what's it like?
I was pretty fortunate. Like the government school, the public secondary school that I went to was a majority Chinese, and two, there wasn't much. We don't feel racism. Like racism in at least for our age, we don't feel it at all. Yeah, because like our school is supposed to be a safe space, for us to learn about other cultures, and of course, my parents play a role. So, okay, there is this subject in Malaysia. It's called Pendidikan Moral. You have a subject called morale. You learn about other cultures, do's and don'ts. You learn to respect each cultures, and we had that subject since primary school. So from primary school, can you imagine you have to learn about other people's culture, and that will be in your exam. You have to learn why Muslims don't eat with their left hand. What does the left hand stands for? Shake with your right hand, or things like don't bring umbrella in the house. Why? You don't, or don't wear a green hat. What does it mean for Chinese culture? Things like that. So as kids, we are used to it. A lot of these things, like with the Malays, you kind of know you need to know how to salam, or why do they salam. This sort of stuff. So it really depends. I think that's the beauty of Malaysia, because of how diverse the culture here is. So quote unquote, we kind of like learn this along the way, and whatever the teacher teaches, there is this principle that's always practiced in our subjects. Or one of it, like let's say we learn about how to tolerate others. That's also one of the things that we learn. Like for instance, we are like a minority in a Muslim majority country. How are we going to tolerate? What do we need to understand? Things like that. So I would say, for me, there is not much of racism, especially in secondary school.
Got it.
Yeah. And plus, our principal that during that time was a Chinese, so there wasn't much issue. Of course, when he's a Chinese, he would do things like enforce the Chinese to take up Chinese classes. They're trying to do this to like preserve the culture, but not all of us like that. Yeah.
What's the biggest difference between studying in China and studying in Malaysia?
Oh wow, that's a good question.
Top three differences.
I did. Here's the thing. I did my diploma in Malaysia, and it was supposed to be, yeah, it was a 3-year program. I did it in Malaysia in a public university. Then later on, I did my bachelor degree abroad. Now I have to say one thing. One, when I went to China, I I wasn't in the same class as the China students. I was in a different class. I was among the international students. So, and there is a reason why. So, even though I know Chinese, right? Like I know how to read Mandarin, but I realized that we can't compete with students in China. We could never compete with them. They will study like from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 12 a.m. Sorry, 12 a.m. And like I told I will tell others, I did not quit secondary school just to like study again, all around the clock. No, no, no. We're gonna live the uni life, We're gonna enjoy college life, in that way. Um, so yeah. But like the difference between me studying here and me studying there, I would say that one, when I was in China, I had a lot of international friends. So we were like studying with Indonesians, South Koreans, a mix of different continents altogether. And versus here, of course, when you're Malaysian, you study in Malaysia, you study with the locals. So that was one main difference. And two, my professors in China, they were actually a mix of like both local Chinese and no, I have some professors from UK, US, Russia. We have a mix. So it's actually a reputable university in uh, Beijing. That was the main difference. I would say that when I was studying in China, I think I'm a lot more independent during that time. Yeah. So of course the difference would be like maybe the medium or language. Of course, I study different subjects, so that was the main difference. But I do have to say though, as a Malaysian, when you are in China, you definitely miss the food here. So I was homesick. I mean, I could bear it just for 1 year, but if I were to be in China for the entire year, I'm gonna miss my nasi lemak. I'm gonna miss my the mamak mee gorengs and everything. So yeah, that was one of the main things.
Got it. Got it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next topic of the day, which is going to be love. Tell us, what is love?
Um, love is patient. Love is kind. We all know that. I'll say that unconditional love is where you love someone without hoping for return. That's true love.
Love
Like
it.
how my parents love me. I didn't get to love another one because like they don't want my love, so it's okay. There are many types of love, of
What do you
course.
mean they don't want your
I mean, like for instance, if you're single and you went through a breakup, like maybe how long was that again? Like last year? Yeah. So some people they even if like I would say that in a relationship, even if you go through a breakup, don't be weary. It's not that the person doesn't want your love. It's just that your love is meant for someone else better.
I love that.
Yeah.
For the for the students that I have, some of them have like tiger moms who just make them study all the time. And
Really?
yeah, what would you say to the kids who don't get along with their parents? Like, my mom doesn't understand me, or my dad doesn't understand me. What's your relationship with your parents like?
Actually, my relationship with my parents is pretty good. Um, my dad is not your typical Chinese dad. He is not. His philosophy is children must play. Yeah, yeah. He in fact he would challenge us to come home with a zero. So because it's so hard, it's hard to it's actually harder to get zero actually if you think about it. So he would
Yeah,
challenge us to come home with a zero. I did not manage to do that. Um, but there was a time when my sister comes home. It wasn't a good score. She was proudly saying, like, she take what he said literally and say, "Dad, see what I got." And like, and the funniest thing, although my dad loves us a lot, he was like, "Oh, why do you come home with that score? Like, didn't you study at all?" So because I would say that my family is not your typical Asian family. Of course, my mom, yes, she wants her child to like do their best. In fact, uh, In fact, for me, I, I did pretty okay in my primary school, even in secondary school. Even though I said study is hard and everything, I did end up with 8 A's. So which is quite an above average score um during my time, but it's not great that you could get like a national scholarship in Malaysia. It's not that fantastic. It was just good, you know. And of course, I understand why people chose to become tiger moms, because they think that that's the best method to get their kids to have a brighter future. And for kids, and if you don't really like you don't come from a very wealthy family, education is your way to break the poverty barrier. So I would tell the kid, like, your mom loves you. She wants the best for you, and she wants you to unleash your true potential. You know, if you study hard right now, yes, it's difficult, but if you go through what is tough love, like what is how strict your mom may be, you'll be thankful to her when when you go to university later, because whatever that she helps you now will prep you for your life later on. Whatever that's difficult now will become easier for you later. I've seen a lot of my I'm not going to say which nation. I've seen some of my classmates who may not have the same background as us. When they're like in primary school, secondary school, their school they emphasize a lot of math or a lot of language classes. So at the end, when they go to university, they do struggle in some of the subjects. And like when your brain at 15 years old versus your brain at 21 years old is really different, actually. You're able to absorb more information at 15. Learn as much as you can. Don't worry, because you are going to be studying for the next 5 to 10 years.
I
That's
love
the
it.
humor part of it. Yeah, I used to teach my students, like they're 11, they were like 16. Yeah, I had one girl, she came up to me, say, I don't want to study anymore, it's so difficult. And I told her, honey, it's difficult for you right now, but you have to go with it. Because if you do not study right now, after your SPM, you're still going to have to study for your bachelor degree and probably master's. So it's going to be another journey. You might as well do well right now. And then, for the next 5 years, it's easier for you.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you show love to others?
I like to give. I like to give, which is one of the reasons I kind of like say yes to the joining this, to
Okay.
share and to share tips. There are actually a lot of information out there which back then I didn't know. But right now, after I've gone through certain stages in life, I can now share to a lot of people. A
Love
lot
that.
of, like, yeah, yeah. Like, for
What kind of
instance, even, yes,
what kind of tips?
for instance, if students would like to study Mandarin languages in China, even for one short term, you get a scholarship. Yes, all fully paid, including accommodations. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm just going to share it to you. You have to learn how to Google it. It's called, you have to search for Chinese government scholarship on the internet. Of course, government websites always look a bit, they're always wordy and stuff. It's not the fancy website, it's an informational website. You have to go learn about what are the opportunities available. China, because I just graduated from China, so I know what how generous Chinese governments are. I mean, in other words, they're rich. They're rich enough, and they kind of like want people to know more about Chinese culture. So if you're there, even if it's just like a 3-month program under Confucius Institute. There are scholarships available for you. Please go and check it out if you're interested.
Love that.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. What how do you receive love?
How do I receive love? Through care and understanding. Mm-hmm.
Personal story.
Let me think. Uh, oh, wow. Let me think. Let me think. How do I receive love? Huh? I really can't think of any right now.
What makes you feel
um,
what makes you feel love?
what's me feel love? Yeah, yeah. I think that would be a better way to say it. Um,
When you eat
I
nasi
like
lemak.
the. Besides my love for nasi lemak, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. Like, since as a working adult, how do we feel love after a long day? Is usually if we can come home and talk to someone how our day is, because there are things that we don't talk with our colleagues. You when you're at the workplace, you keep it very professional, but you just want to be heard. So I usually come home, and the person I talk to is will be my mom. So she may not know everything that I go through. She may not know what my work really is, and it's kind of it's it's too complex for her to understand because she's from a different field. But I try my best to, like, not you. How you feel love is when someone actually listens to you, when they empathize you. So I could say my situation, like how my day is and how do I feel. And then as long as I feel heard, I feel someone hear me, then that's how I feel love. I also feel love, of course, at the workplace. If your boss loves you, he'll give you a raise. but but aside that, I think the most important thing for students, like how do you feel love, is like love is really is a warm, besides, like, boy girl relationship kind of thing. I feel that love is when something you feel warm inside. I'll give you a story. Like, when I go home, right? My parents' place is like 1 hour away. No, almost 2 hours away from where I live. So I do not drive in. I do not drive. Usually I'll just take the train, New Yorker way, take the public transport. So, but what touched me most is where my parents are willing to go the extra mile to make sure that I'm comfortable, to show how much they love me. They're willing to drive all the way from their place just to, like, send me to my place in KL and go back on the same day. So that's the act of love. And that's also how I receive them these days. Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Yes.
Let's move on to the last topic of the day, which is money. Speaking of boss giving
Ah.
you a raise, tell us what is
Money is actually, I would say that, um money for kids, right? Like, I'm actually curious, like, how do kids look at money though?
how did you
Yeah.
look at it when you were in high school?
I mean, when I was in high school, 50 ringgit is huge for me.
Yeah.
But, like, things have changed so much. Like, back then, we don't have iPhones, It's like, what we get is just like a Nokia. And then because, like, I live in the era where I think during that time it was just iPhone 5 or something like that. It was so long ago. Samsung hasn't even come out a touch screen yet. You know,
what did you buy? How did you spend your money in high school?
This is a guilty pleasure, but the first thing that I spent was on makeup.
Makeup?
I spent, yeah, I will tell kids, don't spend on makeup. Don't don't ruin your face too early. Please don't. You're 17. Don't make yourself look older, because when you're older, you want to make yourself look younger. Don't. Uh, Enjoy your youth. Save when you're young. Save your money. Go do some part-time jobs, especially when you're in Malaysia. If you can, I think if you have the opportunity to work in like a barista, I think that'll be really cool. I wish I did that as a part time. I'll be able to like learn a new skill. So imagine like you're getting paid to learn a new skill. Who does that? Nowadays we are paying universities to like torture us through the thesis, to the exams and everything. We pay them for that degree. So I would suggest kids to like, go for go do that internship, go get that exposure. I think when I was right after my secondary school, I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. So I went to a law firm, and after I think like 1 or 2 months working there, I decided no, I'm not gonna be a lawyer anymore.
Love that.
So yeah, that was like part of the experience. Like I thought that by becoming a lawyer, I'll be rich,
Mm, mm.
right?
How
That I
how
really like. Yeah.
how can what can kids expect when they join the workforce? Anything to look out for? Is it what you expected? How you imagined what the workforce is like, or what are some things that are different?
When you first join the company, during the first 3 months, people do observe you. So do your best. Don't slack off. um, and learn as much as you can, especially when you just finish your bachelor degree. Do try to do internships. Like if I bet, if you're passionate, let's say in art, start your art even when you're in school itself. Maybe do it on the weekend, do it in the way that your mom doesn't get upset, but doing the way that your parents will also know that you have this passion and they're willing to support you when the time is right. Yeah, it's all about like timing. So um for me, how to say, money is a tool. It's a tool for us to get things that we want. It's a tool for us to bless other people. Yeah. And like, for me, like if I were to give, let's say, it's also like a tool for us to like help others. So if I have like, if I know my friend is in the need, and I know that when we hang out she can't pay for the meal, I'll just happily cover for her. Yeah,
Love, love
things
that.
like that. So money is powerful if we know how to use it. But
Okay.
don't let money take over you. You own that money, not money owns you, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, that's about it for today.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us any last words for the kids before we wrap it up.
Be
Final thought.
happy. Enjoy your childhood. That's most important. Play as much as you can, but also study as hard as you can. Yeah.
Got it. I love that. Before I forget, if you guys are based in the US and you're listening to this on Spotify and you're going through some suicidal thoughts, depression, you don't have anyone to talk to, feel free to text home to 741-741. That is a national hotline. Someone will always be there to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year. If you're based in Malaysia and you need someone to talk to and you're going through suicidal thoughts or depression, the number you can WhatsApp is 601898888058. And you can message Tina 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. Someone will be there to answer your call. Other than that, all I ask is that if you're feeling generous, that you do consider supporting the community hotline. And that's about it for today. Thank you, Ezreena. Where can people find you if they want to reach you back out?
Instagram. My Instagram handle is at reenak.co.
Okay, EzreenaK.co. Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Bye.